You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. I am your host, Rick Franzi, and I can guarantee you we're going to have an interesting conversation with our guest today. Why, you ask? Because Ashley Harris, Chief Financial Officer, Boys and Girls Club of Central Orange Coast, is our guest. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, Rick. That was an awesome welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. So let's start with you. Tell me about your path to your organization.
Yeah, so I actually, I'm a club kid. They call me a lifer around here. I grew up I'm originally from New Jersey, so I was a club kid growing up. Went to the Boys and Girls Clubs, played basketball, went as a teen, did all the team programming. I was a youth of the year for my local club. And then moved out here to Southern California. I started my finance career, been to for-profit companies for many, many years. And then 2 years ago, an opportunity came up to be the Chief Financial Officer for Boys and Girls Clubs here in Orange County. And it just felt like a full circle opportunity to serve in a place that had done so much for me growing up. It was almost an opportunity I couldn't turn down. So that's kind of my full circle path to the club, and been here for 2 years in this capacity.
Well, it kind of gave me goosebumps in a way, because it's interesting how you ended up not back where you started, but really supporting an organization that was so valuable for you earlier in your life. In the interim, were you a volunteer for the Boys and Girls Club? Were you active at all with the Boys and Girls Clubs before you came back to be the CFO?
Yeah, so I was actually, I'd been a mentor for my local club in New Jersey all throughout, my travels. I'd been a youth of the year mentor for other kids, providing scholarships and, any type of support that I can, going back to any events that I can go back to. So supporting in the capacities that I could, but it always been connected to my local clubs.
So how long have you been in Orange County?
I've lived in Southern California between LA and in Irvine area for about 8 years. Yeah, so I've been here for a while, making my way down I call it the 405 and the 5. That's kind of how we how we look at things. But been here for 8 years now. It's actually the longest place I've lived outside of where I grew up and went to college. So I've been here for a while.
So let's talk about the Boys and Girls Club, Central Orange Coast, but also the greater organization. What's the mission for the Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah, so the mission for the Boys and Girls Club is to make sure every child has mentors in life. So we want to make sure every child feels supported, has mentors and champions as they go through life. The Boys and Girls Club as a whole is, kind of the biggest thing is that we're all different. We all function under the Boys and Girls Clubs of national of America, but then we're kind of set up like franchises. So there's clubs that are everywhere, but they all operate pretty separately. The unique thing about what we have here in Orange County is we have sort of a merger of clubs that are all under the platform of Central Orange Coast. So we operate in Irvine, Orange, Newport, Costa Mesa, and Santa Ana is our biggest area that we serve. And so we all come together as one, club under the umbrella of Central Orange Coast, but we are actually a few different locations under that umbrella.
Are there other clubs in Orange County then?
Yeah, so there's like Huntington Beach, there's Gardena, all of which are not a part of under our umbrella of Central Orange Coast. So this is kind of a hand-picked kind of selection of clubs that came together to form Orange Coast.
And Boys and Girls Club is a nonprofit?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, 501c3.
And if you know it, or if you can take us back to the original founder and why Boys and Girls Club. I'm not looking for a history lesson, but I'm always fascinated on what started the need and the organization that we now know as the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, so I mean, the Boys and Girls Club, much like all in terms of other, you have the Boy Scouts and different organizations.
Sure.
It actually started as the Boys Club. And that's we have like vintage shirts that still have like the Boys Club, paying homage to like the history,
Uh-huh.
just to serve the youth in the community, as a way to kind of bridge that gap for, of course, underserved, underprivileged youth in the communities. It expanded. I can't quote the year, but expanded to the Boys and Girls Clubs, of course, because boys and girls both need that same level of service. And we've been serving locally in Orange County area since 1941 in terms of the oldest club in the group of clubs that we have here locally.
So you've been through the program, so you've had a mentor, you've been a mentor, and what can you describe that relationship that develops over time between the mentee and the mentor, since you've seen both sides of it?
Absolutely. So I think to even take it back one step further, right, it really kind of comes down to what is bringing the kid to what bridge are we filling for the kid, right?
Hmm.
So for every mentor mentee relationship, it can be different because the goal is to champion for the kid. So whatever the needs of that particular child are, for some, it's their parents have never been to college. So like for me, for example, my parents hadn't been to college. So for me, it was a lot of my mentor was guiding me through that process of going to, okay, you got to go to like different summer programs and you got to take certain tests and you got to, go to college tours and kind of bridging that gap for me. For some, it's support. Their parents are working 4 or 5 jobs and they have no one at home to talk to, no one just to ask them how their day was. So that kind of shoulder to lean on. Someone sees me, someone cares about me, someone's looking after me. So really, for us here, it's providing dinner for the whole family. That's the bridge that we gap, the bridge that we feel for them
Hmm.
is making sure they have Wi-Fi and a computer. And so for every child is different, but we try our best to make sure we have sponsors, resources, partners in place to fill whatever that gap is that's missing for that particular child. So it can range. I mean, some kids just need books, some kids need like I said, Wi-Fi was one. We've provided iPads, computers, but I think the biggest thing is just to know that someone is paying attention. Someone is looking and saying, hey, I see you. What do you need? How can I support you? What can I do? Because for a lot of people, their parents are, very busy. They have multiple siblings. They may be a single parent, or it may just be grandma at home, or you just never know. And so just to have that person who's like, I see you, I'm paying attention to what you need, and I'm making sure that you're able to continue to be successful.
Well, that's a lot of responsibility for the mentor to assume. And so I'm wondering, and it's a great thing that people are willing to do that. What's the time commitment, generally speaking, Ashley, for a mentor in your program?
It's it for it, we have mentors in like different capacities. So we have what's called a mentor professional, which is actually an employee of the club. These are like
Hmm.
the when the kids come in, these are the people that they're kind of assigned to as they go through their different programming. And then you have, for teams, we have our youth of the year, which you're assigned a mentor. That mentor will help you go through that process. So writing all your essays, taking care of anything that you need as far as something you may or may not understand. We have our workforce development program, so there's the advocate for you to get a good job placement. And then a lot of the mentor relationships form informally. So it's really about like making a connection with someone who maybe is an employee or a volunteer or someone who you've met in your journey. Yeah. And so like for me, I met my mentor, who's now my life mentor, through the Youth of the Year program.
Hmm.
He kind of had helped me go through that Youth of the Year process, and then has now stayed with me through pretty much every big change in my life. When I change jobs, I call him. I say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this opportunity? Do you think it's a good change for me? When I came to the club, I called them, and through everything. So it really depends on, again, what the need of the young person is and how much they want to lean on that resource. But it can vary depending.
That's what I anticipated, that possibly the relationship could last longer than the need in some ways, because there's
Yeah,
always
absolutely.
maybe a need. I'm a big believer that we learn from others. it's much easier to chart a path if someone shows you their path, then it builds confidence. So I I see the power of the idea of the program, and I'm really happy to have you on the show to share kind of what you're doing and your organization is doing here, not only in Orange County, but in chapters across the country. I'd like to turn our attention, if I could, Ashley, to COVID-19 and the impact that had on your organization. Can you talk about what it caused you to have to do inside the organization?
Yeah, so we had to, actually came in 2020, right in the
Mm,
right in the thick of it. So at that point, we'd already stopped our in-person services for our youth. We'd already, the stay-in-place orders were already in place. So for us, it was a lot of just first stopping the in-person. Of course, our kids, we had to not serve our kids in person, and figuring out ways to serve them at home, and bridging that gap. So out of that came, our food program, came, virtual services, came, emergency services, and because there's kids who are children of first responders. So figuring out ways to serve that community while those parents still have to go to work. It was a lot of meeting and being strategic and having a lot of conversations around how can we still be impactful to our community while we can't physically be together. From an operation standpoint, we've definitely invested a lot in infrastructure to ensure we have remote capabilities across the board to continue to operate at a high level. Our corporate sponsors have definitely stepped up in a major way and supported us through that tough time, and ensured that we were okay and that we could still serve kids in the ways that we could. So our virtual services were huge. Our food program was huge. And just continuing to figure out ways to serve our organization. But it definitely was a huge, huge shift for us. Definitely.
I would think. And earlier you talked about providing Wi-Fi and internet and maybe even laptops and tablets for the mentees. And I would think that COVID-19 really made that even more important when students were doing remote learning, etc. So you stepped in that way too, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Interesting. So you came to my attention because you were selected as a finalist in the 2022 CFO Awards that are hosted by the Orange County Business Journal. So can you tell me what that experience was like, and then also what it means to you to be selected as a finalist?
Yeah, so first of all, it was a huge honor to be a part of that process. You go through and it goes so fast. You get interviewed and you fill out the application, and then when you get to the event, there's a ton of people. It was like so kind of shocking to be back at an event where there's like 500, 600, 700 people in person. So walking up, it's like it's like, oh, okay, you go into the hotel and you see the door, and it's like you walk in the door, and then behind the door is like this massive group of people, and then walking through and get to the table. I didn't know, in terms of like, I didn't know I was gonna win when I got there. So everyone's like, congratulations. They know that you're a part of this, and they know that you're involved. And so then it gets to our category, and the guy starts reading my bio,
Mm.
and I'm like, but probably 10 or like maybe 10 or 15 minutes before that, 10 or 15 minutes before that, my wife, she's like, well, if you win, like you have to have like some remarks prepared. She's a lawyer, so she's like, you got to be ready. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just jot some stuff down real quick, in my phone, and get ready. So just in case, something, so if I win. So he starts reading my bio, so I immediately go to my notes, and I'm like, all right, I gotta like, go up here. So it was, I mean, it's an amazing experience. The host was amazing. It's very much a great opportunity to honor, what I consider, us as finance people. We play the background, we're like kind of customer service. We want to make sure that the business can continue to operate at a optimal level, supporting the operations team, supporting our philanthropy team and our leadership. So to be honored in that capacity, it was absolutely amazing. It was a great experience, and a beautiful award, by the way.
Mm.
Nice, clear, nice, with my name on it. It's beautiful. It was a great experience for sure.
So two follow-up questions. One, How long into the person reading about you did you realize that's my bio?
Pretty immediately, because it's like it's super personal. So like the
Uh-huh.
first couple of sentences are like something like, this person's like went here as a youth. It like immediately when it started, I was like, oh, pretty immediately. So I had time, because they
Yeah.
read like the whole bio. So I had a little bit of time to kind of look and like get my notes together before you go and walk up there to do the speech. So pretty immediately. They're very personal bios.
Wow. I can
Yeah.
imagine the range of emotions you must have felt, and I'm glad it felt like you had a long time to prepare, because sometimes you'd maybe get an out of body experience for a second when you go, "Oh boy, that is me," and so
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and it was more interesting because just right before that, I'd experienced going, my father had been sick throughout kind of this whole process, so going back and forth to Jersey to visit him, and just kind of coming in and out of the different mindsets, just so it was a nice like break in the middle of like kind of all that was going on with my family. So it was good. Yeah.
well,
Nice experience.
congratulations. I wasn't able to make the gala, but I'm sure it was a wonderful evening. And uh, how was it when you walked back to the table with
It,
your
it was
award?
it was good. They were happy. I actually sat at the Fifth Third Bank table with the
Uh-huh.
group that interviewed me. They'd invited us to sit with them, so it was nice. They were like, they obviously knew very in depth about who I was, because they'd interviewed me and advocated for me at the in the final round. So they were very very familiar with me. So it was nice. It was a very welcoming group of people, and that definitely a big shout out to Fifth Third Bank. They're awesome team.
All right. Speaking of galas, I'm curious, are you planning any gala fundraiser event? And if you are, can you describe the event for our audience and maybe why you're having it, and help the audience to understand how the money's going to be used that you're going to raise? And finally, who should attend? So I gave you a long list of stuff, but generally, do you have
Yeah,
something going on?
we do. So we have a few events, and all of our events that we do for the most part, unless it's designated for a very particular thing. Like we have our back to school drives. We have like during the holidays we have toy drives and Thanksgiving drives for food and stuff like that. Those are very specific to those causes. But by and large, all the events that we have throughout the year are to support programming, to support the kids in our clubs, whether it's through our early literacy program, our teen programming, just to continue the programming that we have. So we do actually have a few events coming up. We have our brewery event coming up in August. I think it's August 13th. And that anyone who likes to drink beer should be a part of that event. We have our back to school drive. We do have that coming up. We'll have a final date coming out for that. And we have our annual gala coming in September towards the end. All of the events that we have are on our boysandgirlsclubs.com website, on the events tab. So any events that we have that are finalized and ready for publication go on that website. So you can go on there and you can see, anyone, there's links and just all kind of information regarding all the events that we'll have coming up.
Well, that's great, and I'm gonna give you a chance to restate the URL in a minute. But before we do that, I'd like to look to the future. Can you describe, in your position as the CFO, what's the vision for the organization moving forward? As I'm sure the needs are changing and growing for the community that you serve.
Absolutely. So we're actually just coming off of our annual strategic meeting, and
Mm.
our vision is, our mission is we're going wider and we're going to go deeper, with the communities that we're in. We're going to, continue to service them in the quality of service that we do with our after school programs. We just kicked off our summer program, Camp Ohana. So the kids are now getting ready for, summer coming out of the school year. And we are really putting a lot of resources into our team programming, workforce development, and making sure that we're continuing to develop. So for us, it's really doubling down on what we know we've been doing well in terms of serving our youth, serving the teens, and continuing to look for opportunities to expand expand our reach, whether it through, expansion opportunities or just making those, continuing to make those connections in our communities that we serve in.
So someone would like to connect with you, let's say you first as the CFO, but then also learn more about the organization. Ashley, where would you suggest they go?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely LinkedIn. I'm pretty. I try to be pretty active there. So LinkedIn. My name's Ashley Harris. MBA is probably the Ashley Harris MBA is probably the easiest way to find me. My bio, my job title and everything's there, so you'll pretty easily be able to identify me. I actually have this same blazer on in my profile picture. So you see this blazer. My hair is a little short. Like I have my little braids, but my hair it's a little afro. So you'll see me pretty easily there. And then our Boys and Girls Clubs also has a very active social media presence. Their LinkedIn page, the LinkedIn page there is Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Orange Coast. Posts very regularly there about all the current events that we have going on, all the things that are happening in the clubs. We post very regularly about all the things that our staff's involved in, our leadership's involved in. We talk about, things that the kids are doing. So that's a very active platform to find us on.
Well, the audience that listens believes in the power of peer learning and collective intelligence. And hopefully there's some people that have heard your interview today or in the future as a podcast that says, maybe it's time for me to give back and become a mentor. So I'm sure you're always in need of more mentors who have business experience and can help. So maybe some of the people from our audience will participate.
Absolutely. That'd be great. We love to have people come by. We have, obviously our food drive is probably one of the biggest places where people get involved. But we're always looking for corporate sponsors. We're always looking for opportunities to connect with partners in the community and people who want to be involved with the Boys and Girls Club as a philanthropic act or a partnership. We're always open to that. So for sure, I definitely go to the boysandgirlsclubs.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, go to the LinkedIn website. We're very active on all those platforms. So any of those are good ways to connect with us.
I want to thank you for being a part of the program today, Ashley. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciated the conversation. It's great. And yeah, thank you. Keep doing this. This is pretty awesome.
And I'd like to thank the audience for being a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show. Ashley's episode was episode number 1368. If you're an Orange County entrepreneur or leader of a philanthropic organization and you would like to tell your story, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. You can visit my website, same thing, rickfranzi.com. And until the next time we have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions will move your organization in a positive direction.